Hey everybody, I'm nutritionist Dr. Mike Russell, and welcome to today's episode of the Dr. Mike Show. Today we're going to talk about my favorite foods and the foods I make sure I eat every single day. So in the world of superfoods and superfood lists and eat this, not that, and all those different things, I'm going to take a minute and tell you about, what are the foods that I eat on a daily basis? Now, this is only 4 foods, right? 5 if you include coffee. So we'll throw in coffee there, specifically neuro coffee, right? This is only a list of 5 foods because these are the only things that I consistently eat every single day, right? Oftentimes, maybe an editor will say, hey, I need you to write an article, top 15 best foods, top 7 superfoods, top 25 foods you must eat every day. This list that I have here was defined by what are actually the foods that I eat every single day. All right. So if we're going with a list of 5, and I'm going to include coffee, it's technically not a food, but I drink neuro coffee every day, at least 3 or 4 cups. 3 or 4 cups, which is great in research, is considered moderate coffee consumption. It's probably on the high side of coffee consumption. I'm not very caffeine sensitive, so I can drink a fair amount of coffee and not really have an impact from a jitter perspective or a stimulant perspective. I've also been doing it for so long, I'm very desensitized. So my body's response to caffeine is pretty much non-existent, and it's more habitual than for that caffeine rush. But also, coffee is the number 1 source of antioxidants in the American diet. So coffee is actually a high antioxidant food or beverage to drink. And population-based research show that people who consume moderate amounts of coffee, so it's 3 to 4 8-ounce cups per day, also have lower risk of diabetes. Now, with neuro coffee, as many of you know, is a product that I created, that what we do is we infuse additional antioxidants from the coffee fruit. So coffee is a bean, or coffee is like a cherry, and they take the bean out, and that's what turns into coffee. But there's also this skin and fleshy fruit that looks kind of like a cherry. We take those antioxidants and those get concentrated down, and we put those back into neuro coffee because research shows that it actually increases your body's ability to produce a compound called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is responsible for neuron growth and repair. So this is the same thing when you exercise, kind of that neuron boosting, that brain boosting benefit. One of them, because exercise has a ton of brain boosting benefits, but one of those is that intense exercise increases BDNF. So with neuro coffee, 1 cup and you get a significant increase in BDNF. So that's one of the reasons every single day, neuro coffee. Another one, if you've been listening to Dr. Mike's show or following me for any point amount of time, this won't be a surprise to you. Wild blueberries. Wild blueberries are one of my favorites. I'm going to have it in the morning if I'm having oatmeal. If I don't have oatmeal in the morning, I'll have a cup at night, frozen. So wild blueberries, you basically just get frozen. And I'll just, in a coffee mug and a spoon, is how I'll eat them, kind of like dessert. I like wild blueberries so much because you get more fiber and you get twice the antioxidants as you do in regular blueberries. So they're just a powerful, nutritionally packed food. They're delicious. They're a little sweet. And since you get them frozen, you basically can get them all year round. Next up, beans. So this is probably like what beans, you probably weren't thinking beans were on my list, but beans are on my list of things that I eat every day. Now, if you saw one of the posts I had on Instagram before, you saw that I talked about sprouting broccoli sprouts. And so what I've also been doing is sprouting lentils. So lentils are a really great bean, with fiber. They contain protein. They're very satiating and filling. But if you sprout them, it also unlocks some additional nutrients, and it also takes those carbohydrates that when people eat beans and it makes them gassy or bloated, when you sprout lentils, those carbohydrates actually get digested. And so after 2 or 3 days of sprouting, they go away. So you can eat lentils with really no problem at all. So I'm going to have sprouted lentils or black beans. Black beans are one of the higher fiber beans, so they're probably my go-to. I do like chickpeas a lot as well, but they don't have as much fiber, so I'll generally go with black beans. I'll have those in the morning with eggs, or I'll throw them in a salad or some sort of rice bowl at lunch. But I'm always trying to get at least a cup of beans per day. Next up, so we talked about wild blueberries, talked about beans, talked about coffee. Last 2, pistachios. You also know, I've worked with the pistachio folks for a long time, And this was really cool for me because initially it was out of my love for pistachios. With all the research that I've been able to spend time studying over the last several years of working with the pistachio folks, I've really come to appreciate this is a great food, and it's definitely something that I eat every day. When I was a graduate student at Penn State, we did some research on looking at dose response of pistachios. So basically 1.5 ounces per day versus 3 ounces per day, and risk factors for cardiovascular disease. And the more pistachios people ate, the greater we saw improvements in reduction of risk factors for cardiovascular disease, especially around LDL oxidation. So LDL is your bad cholesterol. And with the individuals who consume more pistachios, those antioxidants in pistachios actually helped stop and fight that oxidation of LDL cholesterol. And I call LDL cholesterol oxidation is like your bad cholesterol turning really bad. And that's kind of like the next step in atherosclerosis. So there's a lot of other additional health benefits from the pistachio side. We're talking about protein in lentils. Pistachios are also a complete protein. So when you can start stacking them with other, especially at breakfast, other foods, that concept of protein stacking that I talk a lot about, pistachios are a great thing to stack there as well. They're simple, they're portable. If you put them if they're in the shells, it takes time to slow down and eat. So a couple shows ago, we talked about listening to your body's satiety signals. And whenever you can slow down when you're eating something, that really helps. And so you can do that with pistachios. So the last food that I always eat every single day is whey protein. Now this may sound strange because it's not an actual food. It's kind of like coffee. It's more of a beverage. But whey protein is such an easy, simple, and high quality source of protein and essential amino acids that I'm always going to have it, whether it's an afternoon snack, I'm going to have a shake because it's quick and easy, or whether it's after a workout as my recovery shake, or if I'm a little pinched for time in the morning and I'm going to have a smoothie, I'm going to put it in there. Now there's nothing, people always wonder about like some magic of protein powders. And there's nothing magical about protein powders per se, but it gives your body concentrated, high quality amino acids. And then if you're having it after exercise, the liquid digestion of whey protein is very fast. So you have this kinetic or this speed advantage to start jump-starting those signals for muscle protein synthesis or that muscle growth and repair. And so whey protein is something I've had daily for literally as long as I can remember, since I was 15 years old, let's say. So a very long time. It's always been a staple because it's just simple, easy, high quality protein. Now, one thing to always remember though, is that if you're having a shake or if you're having a smoothie, liquid foods are never going to be as satiating as solid foods. So liquid protein, while whey protein is great, it's not going to be as satiating as a steak or a piece of chicken or a piece of salmon because that solid protein has stronger satiety signals. So while you get the convenience and the speed with something like whey protein, right, you lose the satiating effects. And so oftentimes you'll see marketed, that a shake will contain 10, 15, 20 grams of satiating protein. Well, you need at least 30 to get to that start feeling satiated, which is one. And two, liquid proteins are not nearly as satiating as solid proteins. They're more on par with carbohydrate from a satiation perspective. So just know if you're going with whey protein as a meal or as a snack, that you might feel a little bit full, or a little bit hungry sooner, which is fine. You just need to be ready for those hunger signals, and you just need to know, well, I'm a little hungrier because I had the liquid meal and it's just not keeping me as satiated. So those are the 5 foods that I eat or drink every single day. Now you may be wondering some other things that I love, like, I love salmon, I love beef. What about those foods? How come they're on the list? I'm a big fan of kefir. So while I eat these on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, 4 or 5 times a week, right, at least, it's not something that's every single day. The list I gave you today those are really my everyday foods, and I don't miss day in, day out getting those in my diet. So are there a lot of other great foods? Yes, but for me, those are the ones I find myself consistently going for on a daily basis.